Get in your corporate zones.
Great.
You don't need to be in a corporate zone. Right, we're on. We're ready. Straight off the bat.
Got to stay on brand.
Stay on brand.
So you want to know about this picture in the background?
So wait, we're not ready for the picture.
Okay.
We have to do the formal YouTube bit. So welcome back to the Data Protection Diaries, and more importantly, welcome back to the Pub Chats Christmas Special. While we've got tinsel, some of us decided to put Christmas hats on, others don't like Christmas.
I love Christmas. I just love the EU more.
So many of you will know these fine people that have joined us here today. These were some of the original guests on the Pub Chats podcast and some of the most popular guests, so we thought we'd bring them back. So we are joined today by the Godfather of Information Governance, the man himself, Barry Moult.
Thank you.
The unchallenging,
it's making me go red.
The unchallenging and always friendly Tim Turner.
Woo! Can we just check what's the swearing situation?
So we can swear. Yeah.
Go fuck yourself.
I can tick the box that says this is not for kids.
Right. I don't want to offend anybody else, but go fuck yourself.
Now she's ruined the intros, but she's here. Yeah. She is the incredibly intelligent and well-loved Tash Whittaker, who smashed the views on the last Pub Chats.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. Thank you for coming and talk to me. I sit in here on my own all day because everybody else works from home. Now I just get drunk on my own, but while talking to other people in the office.
So that makes it okay.
And that makes it all right.
As long as you can hear voices, you're not drinking by yourself.
And it can be expensed as well. Business expenses. So more importantly, Barry's going to tell us why he's got a picture of the German market as his background.
Yeah, so went to the German market. I don't know which one it was. We went to about 3 or 4, and I can't remember which one this was, but it was absolutely bitter cold, freezing. And this is outside, by the way. It's not inside. It might look inside, but it's outside. It's absolutely freezing, -4, 5, 6 or something like that. And Mrs. Moult took a picture of me sitting next to Santa, but I got a beer in my hand. And this woman come and said, "Oh, can you take a picture of me sitting there?" I said, "Yeah, okay." She gave me her phone and I took a picture of it. My fingers were frozen and I dropped her phone and it smashed.
Oh, no.
Yes, it smashed. She was from Taiwan and I thought, oh my goodness, what do I do now? And she sort of said, "It's okay." I said, "No, it isn't." I thought, oh my goodness, to buy her a new phone, it's going to cost me hundreds of pounds. And she said, "No, it's okay." I said, "Well, okay then. I grabbed hold of Mrs. Moult and we legged it. And about half an hour later, we were walking down another market and it was coming face to face to us, but this woman again. So we quickly dived down another side. But I tell you, I've never been so embarrassed in all my life.
But Barry, how did you still end up with a photo of her?
No, we took the photograph first, and my fingers were frozen.
With her phone?
Because he nicked a phone.
With her phone? So
not the SIM card.
No. Well, okay. So you're absolutely right. We did take a photograph of her on our phone. Then she said, "Oh, will you take?" Because we're going to say we'd send it to her. Sorry. And then we took one with her phone, and we dropped it.
Oh, Bazza, I'm never handing you anything of mine that's valuable.
No. So anybody now says take a picture, not me. Yeah. Not me.
Do you find that when they give you awards, Barry? Because I mean, you must be quite used to this. Do you drop those as well?
I don't know. I haven't had one from the ICO. I've just had it in words, but nothing. And the one from the other night.
Isn't that the ICO all over though, Tim? Isn't that what the ICO do? They just talk.
Yes.
We're going straight in, aren't we? We're not
Barry, did you not get any bling from the ICO?
Nothing. So what they did say is the IRMS.
Your caliber.
Shouldn't make any difference, mate. I don't. The end of the day is I've got it in writing somewhere and I've done a screenshot. That's fine.
There must be some kind of. They must have spent some money on like a padlock.
I wouldn't mind it if it had been just a PDF form that says, ICO winner, whatever it is, blah blah blah, and I could have stuck it in a frame and give it the kids for when I die. But you know what?
Maple syrup, maybe? No?
Well, the lady, the woman who won it the year before, she got something because I remember her going up on stage to go and get it.
Hey, maybe I'll get a free PlayStation next time round.
Barry has been dissed. I don't think we should take this. These bloody Canadians.
Oh, dear. Hey, just remember, I've got to be really, really sort of PC here, sort of.
Because we're filming like in the evening.
Yeah.
Like technically, it's like outside of work time, so none of your opinions are your own. No, none of your opinions are representative of your employers. Sorry, all of your opinions are your own. Apart from who just doesn't give a shit. And
None of us have employees. What are you talking about?
No, we don't. We are the employer.
Yeah. I literally had somebody complaining a couple of weeks ago, and he's like, would you like to speak to my manager? And they were like, yes. It's like,
so, Richard, you would have picked something up that I said on the meeting the other day when somebody said, but Barry, you can't because you are not an employer. And I said, oh, yes, I am. I employ Mrs. Moult because it's a bit of a, sort of tack. It's a bit of, I pay Mrs. Moult to do my admin. And I said, I am thinking of getting an apprentice. She didn't like that because I'm a consultant. She doesn't think I should be on the Trailblazer group.
So I think this is a good thing to talk about, actually, because I think the apprentice thing is a really, really good idea. But there's definitely this sort of movement between whether it should be like a public sector thing or whether it's a private sector thing and where apprenticeships fit.
Yeah, I think Richard, we need to go for the generic one first of all, and then if we need to do something specific, we need to get this over the line. We can then go specific. I think people do that in construction, in all sorts of things. So let's get it over the line, and then let's look to see what we can do. Well, I'll look to see what I can do if I'm still living, because by the rate it's going, it's going to take.
What we're talking about, Barry?
It's going to get forever.
This one is ever going to retire.
Oh yes, I have a plan.
Was this part of your plan? Was your plan to be like, I'm going to retire, I'm leaving the world of IT? So everyone went, no, Barry, have some awards. You have a lifetime achievement, stay educator.
Well, thank you very much, but it's not going to work because I will retire. But it's interesting. I have given some work. I'm not taking any more new work. I am giving work away. And I've just, I've just recommended Inga for some stuff. So, and then before that, it was do you know Sonny Vara up in Eastman? I gave Sonny some work as well. So as things come in now, expect an email. I might pass it your way.
So do you realise, Barry, who the first person was to give you work when you started up on your own?
I do. Hallmark. Absolutely.
It was me.
Yes.
I gave you Hallmark, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's great.
Barry worked for me. Can you believe that?
Once upon a time.
Briefly.
How's the world of training, Tim? Are you bored of Zoom yet?
Actually, to be fair, very few people use Zoom. It's mainly Teams and then various other things. I mean, the thing is, it's not my job. I'm not doing my job. My job is something else, and this is either some interlude that I am making the best of until something else happens or we go back. But I think it's like you can't react to people in the same way. And so, yeah, I mean, I made a joke about it. My entry into this was, if I never use Teams again, it'll be too soon. I suspect that the training market will end up mainly Teams and Zoom and, GoToWebinar, and there'll be a little bit of face-to-face. So people like me, dinosaurs like me, will have to decide, do we want to be part of this, brave new world, or do we want to do something else? Because I don't think face-to-face training will come back in the way that it was there before. But I mean, I've got lots of work, but it's one of those things as I get older. I mean, Barry's just made me contemplate my own mortality now. So as I view the declining years of my life, I think it's a genuine change. I think so many people are going to work from home, and so much is going to be delivered on stuff like this. We're all going to have to decide: is this the world we want to work in, or do we want to find something else to do? Should I go and work in the Apple Store because there are people, and I prefer people to screens?
But you say that, but I saw today an article, and they were like, the CEO of Zoom has lost $7 billion of his net worth. His shares have plummeted at the like. But did he make like 30 billion during the pandemic? So he's lost 7. But this is, even the markets think that maybe there'll be that initial influx of people going out and wanting to do stuff, and then maybe it will come back online.
I think the people who run Zoom are going to be fine. I don't think they're going to have a problem. But I think it is. I think it's interesting. The vaccine's coming, and potentially the world will change as a result of that. But I think so many people have saved so much time and so much resource that one of the interesting things for people certainly like me, perhaps for people like you, I don't know because I don't do as much consultancy, but the world's going to change, and we just have to decide: is there something for me on the other side, or am I going to end up doing something else? I saw a job recently and thought, I could do that job, and then I thought no, because I'd have to interact with other people and do as I'm told. But it's I think it's an interesting thing that the world's going to go back to something, but it's not going to be February 2020. It's going to be something else.
I can't imagine going back and doing a day rate job, going into an office for a day the way I used to. I could do 3 days with 3 different clients, and then the last 2 days was catching up and everything else. Whereas what I'm doing now is, I think I've actually worked with 7 different clients today, and it's been very jigsawy. It's been a meeting here, a piece of work here, and for them that's better because they only have to pay for the exact amount of time that they're talking to me or I'm doing their work. And for me, it means my other clients don't feel ignored because I can still talk to them and do work for someone else. Whereas when you're at a client site for the day, yes, it's a nice day rate, thank you, but it sort of stops you being able to do other stuff. So I just can't imagine ever going back to a client saying, can you come here for the day, please? Yeah. I can't imagine.
For me, for where I live, it used to be a 20-minute train to one station, then and 50 minutes down to London. And to get the train at 7:15 for 9:30, 10 o'clock start, and then the same coming back. I used to think, I've gone out, I've done a day's training, I've come back. I felt as if I'd done something. But it's interesting that doing Zoom, Teams training, I get up in the morning, go for a walk, come and sit down, some emails. I then log on either to Zoom and Teams and do the training. Finish about 3:30, 4 o'clock. And do you know what? I feel as if I haven't done anything. I know I've done a day's training. Just that traveling, even if you sit on a train and nobody talks to you, you feel as if you've been somewhere, you've done something, which is rather bizarre. But I think somebody said to me a couple of weeks ago, said, the thing I like about Zoom is when you do the breakout groups, you're in a group of 4 or 5 and you're not in a room, people in different corners, and said it's easier to talk and to share opinions. So I felt that was good. But I think Tim's right. I think 75% will be video, but I think there'll be 25%. Some people in the Londonish catchment area, I'll say I prefer to see face to face.
So do you because I get the whole you can multiple clients same day, getting stuff done. I mean, it drives. I'm not great with people just pinging things at me all day. I get very easily distracted, and then I get stressed because I've not done something, because something over here was way more shiny than the thing that I was supposed to be doing. But do you feel that are people getting our attentions anymore? Because sometimes I've got clients and I'm talking to them you're just not. You're not quite listening as much as you were when I was in your boardroom once a month.
Yeah, well, I thrive on that constant change and backwards and forwards. I love it, absolutely love it. That's my much preferred way of working. I love it. I've got 12 Slack channels, different Slacks. And so I can keep an eye on all the clients all day. Absolutely love it. What I don't love is being in a boardroom all day. So I absolutely thrive on it. Love it.
I'm different.
Slack channels.
I know. I can't do that. I have, if I book a day's training, that's what I do. Because I'm a DPO for 60 GP practices, I can dip in and answer some emails. But it doesn't matter if I don't answer it today and I answer it tomorrow. So, I normally book one thing and that's it, apart from maybe a few emails.
It's funny, isn't it?
I think there's a certain adaptation that everyone's going to have to do. And then for some people, there will just be a mode of working that will become the norm that just won't suit certain people. And it's that thing. The phase that I went through in March and April was grief. It was something had been taken away from me, and I had a sense it wasn't going to come back. And it's only a job. It's not like someone you know and you love, but grief was the only way I could express it. And that's clearly gone. And there's things I'm doing now that I never would have done before that I don't think would have worked face to face, which definitely work better online. But you get to a point where you think, I don't want to sit in my kitchen or my little study, all that kind of stuff. And I don't want to be that person. And so I think there will be some of the sector, whether I say some of us, I don't know, I've not made my mind up yet. But if the world really is going to be virtual, we've all got to decide what our place is in the world. And it doesn't have to be the place that it was before. It's nice to have a choice, because I could just bang out online training for the next 5 or 10 years, probably get away with it. But is that what I actually want to do? And so, I think everyone has to look at it and say, does this suit you? And if it suits you and you adapt to it, then, Godspeed, go ahead, take over the world. But for some of us, it might be a case of, I'll do this for a few more years and then I'll do something else. The problem for people like me is I can't work for anybody else.
I miss people. Like, this should be in a pub.
No. Do you know, Tim, you're still looking for people on secondment at the ICO's office.
Yeah, I don't think I've so much burnt my bridges there as napalmed them and then flown over and pissed on them. But we didn't put the fire out, somehow made it worse.
Are you waiting for like the retention period on ex-employee HR records to expire so that they won't know who you are when you apply, and you could just like, I've never been here before.
I think making an FOI request to them every 2 weeks kind of reminds them, and then writing a blog about it. It's like, who's this guy? No. To be honest with you, but the thing is, the only job at the ICO that makes any difference is the commissioner. I couldn't get that job because you're never going to give that job. Let's say you've got the perfect version of all of us. The ultra consultant who is
Thank you.
Yes. To be honest with you, I can think of a person in the sector who would think, and that's me.
Yeah.
I wonder if I think he's the same name.
Yes.
Anyway,
not a British name.
Oh, we're thinking of someone else. Barry. But the point
I'm on the same one as Barry there.
We should all pass around notes. The point is that you couldn't. Let's say I am not who I am, and I'm not obnoxious and all that kind of stuff. You wouldn't appoint a consultant to do that job. You would ideally want someone with knowledge of data protection and FOI. That would be perfect. So Liz Denham looked perfect in the abstract, but you need someone who's got experience of kind of very high level, decision making. Ideally, someone like Chris Graham, who'd run an organization. The ASA is not the ICO, but he's got experience of running a big organization. That's the kind of thing. But in terms of the ICO, the only job I would want is one I am fundamentally so unsuited to. I don't want it to be disparaging. The Jersey job is coming up.
Oh,
I'm not saying the Jersey one, because I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Jersey.
I might not retire now, Tim.
I know, listen.
You're going to go and be Jersey.
that is my dream job.
No, I can
If
tell
I was going to work for someone else, that would be my dream job.
But even there, Jersey deserves someone who's run something. And so, it's never going to be a data protection nerd getting any of those jobs. It's going to be somebody hopefully with data protection experience and FOI experience, but someone who's run something, managed people, managed a budget, or at least found the right person to manage a budget. And that's the problem, that you're always going to end up with someone who's a compromise, because it can't be a pure expert at the field, because they lack the leadership and the strategic vision.
It needs to be someone who can be the equivalent of a CEO, but also has the knowledge behind them, but also can deal with British politics. And how many of those people exist? They just don't. And so you're going to end up with one or the other, and or none.
Yeah. So I think that the idea, the fantasy idea of being that, I can see the appeal of it, but it's not going to be any of. I mean, apart from Barry, obviously, the venerate.
No. So Tim, would you think that sort of job needs to be split? Somebody who's on the compliance side and somebody who's on, if you like, the nice political, keep things nice and hunky dory. Would that work, do you think?
I think the thing is that Chris Graham, who I didn't think was brilliant, but it's my pet theory is every commissioner's job is to make you realise how much less bad the previous one was. So God help us in the next one. But Chris Graham proposed that he be replaced by a commission rather than a commissioner. And the DCMS, when they brought in those weird consultants from America to review the ICO's work, they said, should we do that? And I wonder whether that's where we go, because that way, I mean, I know nobody wants this to be derailed into just me ranting for 20 minutes about how rubbish Liz Denham has performed her duties. But if you look at, I think, an unquestionable flaw, the ICO for the last 5 years has been the Liz Denham show. Chris Graham, Richard Thomas, the best commissioner we ever had, Liz France, because I worked for her. But even Eric Howe, who no one remembers, not even me because I was doing something else. But they all were running the organisation, whereas Liz Denham has used it more as a vehicle for promoting Liz Denham. The idea of a commission where you can have the figurehead, the charisma person, and then you can have the detail person, and then you can have a number of different roles. It would be fantastic if they would go for that, but it means turning the organisation upside down, and it's a bit of a rebuke to whoever came before. So if the DCMS say we're going to change the way the ICO runs, it's kind of saying we have to change it because the last one was rubbish, and I think that's a bit much, and I'm not sure they're going to like that idea.
But Tim, so what we started off with at the beginning was that it's a huge job. I think Tash said it. It's political. It's a this and this. So in many ways, maybe the job was just too big. When I say too big for her, it was she'd given a remit that become almost impossible to do. To be fair to her, rather than, I understand what you're saying, and I think it ought to be different, but I just wonder whether the remit was too big.
It's a poison chalice, isn't it?
Not just for her, but for anybody.
I think if you take the job as it is not my responsibility to save the world, then you're going to do a better job than she did. And I think that's my summary of Liz Denham. It's I am going to save the world from Facebook and the Russians and God knows who else. Whereas if you saw your job as I'm going to sort out a bunch of FOI and subject access complaints and enforce on some dodgy marketers, we could all do that. That's not actually that hard. Chris Graham did it, and I am not a big Chris Graham apologist. He was fine.
Is it not just here's your job, bring something different to it, but while you're there, we want you to tackle digital, the digital marketplace. We want you to look at Facebook, have a go at Twitter, and do a couple of things, and make sure you get some big money fines in there just to make it look like we're all doing something. And it's. Is it just a poison chalice? Are you ever actually allowed to do the things you want to do, or are you just being told?
It's unquestionably, it's not Liz Denham's job to fix Twitter and Facebook. If it's anybody's job, it's a mixture of California and Ireland, because for European purposes, that's where they're based. Mm-hmm. So I think there is a real, the idea that I don't want to derail this completely, but if you look at the ad tech investigation, for example, where the ICO was getting a lot of stick for not fixing the internet, And it's like, what do you expect them to do? For all the things that I would criticize Liz Denham for, she can't fix the business model of the modern internet, which is what real-time bidding and ad tech really represents. I mean, I think technically it's Helen Dixon's job rather than Liz Denham's job, but I don't know anybody can do that. It's too big. Taking on Experian is a big enough job, and they've had a go at that. So all credit to that. But I think that what the next commissioner, if it's one commissioner, needs to think about is how am I going to do a coherent job rather than rerun the 2016 presidential election, rerun the Brexit referendum, and do a whole bunch of other things that I don't have the power to do. And the people who are complaining to me aren't complaining about. They're complaining about nuisance calls.
All right. Here's a question then. In that sense, like, you can't fix everything and like challenge the things that you can fix, and concentrate on the things that actually matter and the things that make a win. Is anybody else bored to tears with cookies, and does anybody ever actually give a shit anymore?
Interesting, because I saw your comments the other day about, have we, I don't know if you were trying to say, Richard, are we just
is it a pointless thing to try and tackle?
Yeah, it's a mountain out of a molehill. I think that's what you're trying to say. Yes and no. It depends.
You can't just say yes and no.
Well, I'm deliberately not.
Beer, Barry. You need to be ranting.
I have a very strong opinion, but I don't want to. I think Tash should have her say first.
Yeah. So I have a strong opinion that people should be more aware of what cookies and trackers involve. The way that it's being put in front of us has been these stupid cookie banners, which do bugger all anyway. It's a false sense of yeah or no, because they all drop the cookies and trackers, whatever you say, and quite often people don't mean to do it, but the way things are set up, it happens anyway. And it just bugs me that there is a lack of knowledge around what's actually happening to your data and the way you're being followed and tracked and everything else as a result of cookies and trackers. I wish there's a way to educate people better so they didn't just see banners as a nuisance and just click yes because it's fine. It drives me mad that my 8-year-old at school is told always accept cookies by her ICT teacher. And it's just like, no, if you could educate them now on why they probably shouldn't, or why schools should automatically have cookie blockers in place, that would be a better thing. But it's not something I can change. With most of the clients I have, we have a bit of an agreement that some of them are quite happy to break the regulations. Some of them want to do it right, and we do get it right, but it's bloody hard work to get it right. And that's what's so frustrating. I mean, you know that, Richard, from the work that we did together a couple of days ago. It's an entire day trying to work out why the cookie banner doesn't work. And it shouldn't be that difficult. It really shouldn't. It should be as simple as either turn them off or turn them on. And then it wouldn't be an issue, but it's not. So that's my take.
Let's take it from a consumer perspective. So the consumer perspective is you've got that user experience thing, like this banner comes up. I just wanted to look at something. Now I've got to decide. I've got to have a look at this. So let's say everyone just denies all of the time. We have no ad tracking. We have no Google Analytics. We have no Facebook pixels. And then one day, like, you stopped being advertised the things that you want to buy, and you're now being advertised a load of shot because nobody's actually understood what it is that you want to buy. Do we then just have a world of consumers where people are kicking off that they're just being advertised a load of irrelevant rubbish? Are we ever going to win?
No, we're not. And I always do that in my training, because I always start with, how many of you remember all the Viagra ads you used to get? How annoying it was when you're clearly not
had any for ages.
For it.
Where's it gone?
I can hook you up, Barry. Let me take
my age.
I can forward you some emails.
Whereas now, 50% of the adverts I look at and go, oh, I really like those plants. Or yeah, a yoga mat. Or I buy Christmas presents as a result of them. So I do actually use them. So we will never win, but I just feel that people need to understand what they're agreeing to. That's all.
Can I at this point, because I'm deliberately trying to be nice because I like everybody here.
Don't bother. Go for it.
Okay, right. It's all the reason why the privacy data protection sector makes a big fuss about cookies is for one very simple reason. Nobody gets them right, and you can use it as an excuse to sell data protection consultancy, because you can go in and guaranteed say you're doing this wrong, and they're probably doing all sorts of stuff wrong, but it's easy and it's lazy and it's bollocks because nobody cares. If you look at the number of people who complain, and Tash made a very good point, which I can't deny, that people don't really understand what cookies do. But I honestly think that if you explained to people in detail what cookies do, and you didn't put the name of data protection consultant, who I'm not going to mention because I just don't need that kind of trouble in my life. If you didn't put that version on it, nobody would care. If you said loads of companies are bidding to give you a specific advert that might be tailored to your interests, the average person, not because they're stupid, but because they've got so many better things to worry about in their lives, would be like, and it's not important. And
this is born my, and this kind of builds my frustration. So we spent 2 days this week, me and Tash, arguing about the validity of cookie scanners. And I was adamant.
We
debated. I thought it was.
Sorry.
He's so angry, he's thrown your laptop on the floor.
I've got you on like a little chair, and you literally just fell off the chair.
You got off the bar stool.
I can't see it. She's drunk. She's drunk.
She only had one drink.
We weren't arguing. We were trying to work out what was broken.
And it turns out that it was, looking at the dev tools on Google, like I'm telling you, there is no bloody cookies. I am telling you, and the scanner's saying there is. The scanner is wrong. This is all a load of tosh. And then it turns out that there was some old scripting on the website, and the cookie was embedded into the scripting on the website. It's like, you're trying to explain that to the client, and they're like,
yeah.
So
my frustration is that if I don't want them, I should be able to accept or reject. Just plain and simply, comes up, click. But what happens is that when it says, you either accept them, it says, or more information, and you click on that and you read all the stuff, but there's nothing then to say reject. There are loads like that, and it frustrates me. So then I go back to the front and think, well, if I do want to go on this website, I've got to accept them, and I don't want to. So then I have to bugger off.
Yeah, exactly. If everything worked the way it was meant to, I'd have no objections, because people can accept them or people can decline them. That's fine, as long as the banners actually did what they say they do, and they don't. And that's the thing. I'm one of these very sort of black and white people. I have a really weird sense of justice, and that bugs the hell out of me. That every client I speak to, they don't know they've even got these cookies on their website or these trackers. They didn't mean for them to be there. So I can't blame them for it. So it's fine. They try to get rid of them, and then they can't. And then some idiot comes along and starts spouting off about data protection. People don't know what they're doing. How dare they have these trackers? It's like, we're trying to get rid of them. We can't do it.
Tash, have another drink. Have another drink.
No, this is good. We've got it.
Doesn't matter. Right, let me cheat. During the Windrush scandal, the Home Office made decisions about people with inadequate or incomplete or inaccurate data. People were deported when they shouldn't have been deported. People died in circumstances which were desperate when they didn't need to. Compared to that, I couldn't give a shit whether a website has some Google Fonts nonsense that shows up on a cookie scanner. It doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter to anybody.
You sound like a purist, Tim.
If the internet runs in a way that is fundamentally unlawful, and what that means is you get shown adverts, who cares? It doesn't matter.
So that argument is exactly why probably about every 3 or 4 weeks I have a complete wobble of, am I even in the right job? What the fuck is the point of all this? If all I'm doing all day is trying to fix people's cookie banners, is that what it's all about?
No, it's not that. No. I don't know what I'll be perfectly honest with you. I don't know how you spend all of your time. I doubt it's on things as I'm sure you do other much more worthwhile things. But if that was a job It's not a job.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
No.
But that brings me nicely onto the next ranting point, which is the people that that post on LinkedIn about sodding cookie banners on a bloody website that they've just been on in Turkestan to buy a hoodie, and it dropped a load of trackers. And you end up with these people who think that that is the sole purpose. You know, they've got the consultant title, they've got data protection or whatever, and it's a run a scan on this tool, and here's a screenshot of it. Look at all the red crosses, but they don't even know what the red crosses mean. They're talking about leaked referrers and SSL, and it's like, do you know, or do you just see a red cross, and is it just an opportunity to put a LinkedIn post that might get a bit of engagement so you can have a bit of a rant, but you know, you're not really adding anything to the conversation.
Richard, you need to pick who you connect with on LinkedIn a bit better. I haven't seen any of those debates, I'm quite pleased to say.
I've unconnected I like the hat Bazza. I've
Safety first.
To a lot of these people, but I still end up seeing them because of things other people going on, and I wonder, do these people have trust funds or something? What do they do all day to earn money? Because they seem to spend their life ranting about stuff that in the grand scheme of things doesn't matter, and in doing so they try and drag down the credibility of people that I think are actually pretty good at what they do. And I just think it's not about that. We shouldn't be there pulling other people down. We should be helping other people. I know you disagree with me, Tim. We've fallen out a lot of times over this. But I think we should be there to support each other. This is an industry where we need to sort of pull together and not get into the silly, bitty stuff and start slagging off other data protection consultants. It's not about that. And, you know, I just get very wound up by it, as you can tell.
The thing is, I think what the data protection community needs to accept is that there is a vibrant data protection community of supportive and you know, cooperative professionals, but there isn't a requirement to join that community. So I do not for 1 minute deny that there is an industry, there is a community, and that it is, you know, very valuable to those people who are part of it. The only thing is, I'm not a part of it, and I don't have to be, and I can be unhelpful, which at least one person who is on the call today has accused me of being in the past, and I don't owe anybody anything. If I go round deliberately attacking people, you know, if I look at who's running a course on a particular day and I deliberately run the same course at a lower price, that's shitty, and I would deserve to get huge criticism for it. I would never do anything like that. That's unconscionable. But the idea that we're all here to support each other, there are people who I would be exceptionally happy if they went out of business because they're dickheads. And you know, and not even that they're bad at the job. Some of them are bloody terrible at their jobs. But I think the idea is it's wrong to say there shouldn't be support. There shouldn't be little communities of people who back each other up. The only thing is, it's a choice whether you join in. You know,
but you join in, you just don't admit it. You're here today.
Yeah, but only because no, but I don't behave in the way that you're talking about. I will attack people. I have put people out of business, and I enjoyed doing that.
God.
No, but I didn't set out to put people out of business. What I've done is said that's nonsense, and I don't care that you're part of my community. I don't care that you're in the industry. I'm going to say that you don't know what you're talking about, and I don't, and I'm not going to not do that. So but, I think it's
both of us. I mean, Kevin Gate. I don't know if you were involved in Kevin Gate.
I didn't think we were going to go to Kevin.
Yes, Kevin
Gate, but a lot of people did call that out because it was so wrong and made everyone else look stupid. You know, because it was so bad. So people did call it out, and people
Point
do.
of order. That's a member of our community.
So,
we did not help that person.
But, no, Tim, I did.
Yeah, and what happened, Barry? What happened when you did the right thing?
Yes, okay, they blocked me. No, first of all, they said on the phone when I rang them up and said, look, you're getting some stick. I think I'd be the nice. And she said, oh, thank you, Barry. You're the nice guy. And then the following day, I'm blocked. But you know what? They have taken some of their stuff down.
Yeah.
So, you know, it did have an impact. But I understand what you're saying. We're all part of a community. But there are some people who, and Tim, we had just a brief conversation about a person who runs a company that whether that's the person you were thinking about earlier. But, you know, to be honest, he is just he's all for himself. It's what he can do, and it's promotion of him rather than anything else. So I just think, you know, there are some people who I see as part of my community. Not everybody has the experience that you've got, Tim, or Richard, or Tash, or me. And some people are struggling to actually deliver. And what they are delivering becomes snake oil. And I think sometimes they need to be called out. You're absolutely right. But I just think sometimes is there a way of doing it? But sometimes it annoys me because they're getting work and I have to go back afterwards and put right what they've done wrong.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, if you looked at it purely from a data protection industry perspective, there's a lot of money to be made cleaning up after idiots. And I bet all four of us have done that. And yes, there's an argument. I don't think anyone would do it deliberately, but I just think that Tash is right that there is clearly a supportive and genuine community, and it's not my job to undermine that, but I am not, and people like me are not at fault because we don't want to join in. You know,
no, I think you've missed my point, Tim. So it's not the not joining in thing, and I'll use an exact example. It was the thread on LinkedIn where a group of what I call the purists, like, how dare they attend these conferences? How can they call themselves professional for doing it? And just like, seriously? You know, and the slagging off that went on about people that I have a lot of respect for is the issue that I have. Not people like you who, you know, and I have fully stood up and said, yeah, Tim acts like a dick, but actually he's great. You know, you only call out when someone is clearly in the wrong. To me, that trying to make a living and do the right thing is not being in the wrong.
It does, like, if you've picked the worst example, do it at some point.
Just wait one sec, and then I'll let you do it. But the point is, it's those kinds of posts about something that is inanimate and is irrelevant and shouldn't really matter, that the people who don't have a full understanding post about to make their point or to make themselves seem relevant, knowledgeable, etc., that then gets them business. And when you challenge it and say, is it really that much of a thing? Like, you're going to report it to the CNIL? Come on, seriously?
I've never been there.
All because you ran a, you know, it's that kind of tribe. And I get the community thing, and I think like supporting each other is good, and we do that, and we run the risk of becoming a little bubble, and then we're like, hey, look at us, we're so perfect, everybody else is a dickhead. And you have to be aware of that. And that was the Kevin thing for me. Like, it almost became a little bit too like, you know, the pink jackets, and you know, we're all pretty, we're all really clever, and everyone else is a dickhead. But it's not. It's when people are just intentionally poking and being knobs, and for no particular gain other than to belittle other people and to try and get work that they're probably not qualified to get. And that's what annoys me.
Yeah.
Right, just to put a counter argument to something that Tash has said. If one's objection to a certain unnamed organisation was their cookies, that would be fatuous nonsense. If, on the other hand, a certain organisation had a completely ridiculous interpretation of data protection that involved them having a legitimate interest in bothering people and ignoring their unsubscribe requests, let's assume such an organisation existed. I'm not saying that they do. Then that would reflect on the people who do business with them. That, you know, that isn't an illegitimate criticism. If it was just about cookies, then it would be bullshit. But what you're saying is it isn't legitimate to, at the very least, poke fun at people who associate with other people who are shite. So if you think about it those terms, yeah, the cookies argument I don't accept for a moment. I don't have any cookies on my website purely because I wouldn't know what to do with them if I did. I haven't got enough hours in the day to analyze traffic on my. I just don't know. But I think there is a point at which there are organizations in the sector, in the industry, who are awful and whose data protection practices are not fine but okay. They're awful. And if you work with them, what you're saying is awful is something I'm willing to tolerate. And I'm the complete opposite. I don't associate with anybody. It's just me. And so I literally, don't have to answer to anybody. And if I'm a dick, then all I have to do is answer for being a dick. But I think you do have to make intelligent choices about who you associate with, and there's not automatically something wrong with saying if organization does X or Y, it's reasonable to point that out. If it was just about cookies, I couldn't possibly disagree with you, because you're right, it doesn't matter. But there are other things like the privacy policy of a certain organization I could mention, which should give us all concern. And that's why I don't get invited to do webinars with the International Association of Privacy Professionals. Mind you, neither do any of you.
No.
No.
Because you're not Americans.
Which is all for them, I'm afraid.
America.
I think there's a genuine nonsense aspect to this, but I think it isn't unreasonable. It depends how you present yourself. It depends what other things you do, but there is an element to which the people you choose to work with define you to some extent. That's all I would say.
So Tim, can I ask then? So if you were going to, a company asked you to do some work with them and you wanted to assess them, what would you use as your assessment of whether you would work with that company? So for me, for instance, I'm not saying it's the be all and end all. I do my due diligence, but one of the things I look at is their privacy notice. And say, do you know what are they telling me? Because it's not so bad now, but 12 months ago, if somebody said 1998 Data Protection Act, I would think, why would I want to work with them, or why would I want to share my information with them? So it's just one of a number of things. But if cookies are not important to you in that sense, what would be important about whether you would work with somebody or not?
Barry, I've not worked with someone because I didn't like someone's face. So I'm not the best person to judge this. But I think you need to develop your own standard. It doesn't. Yeah. Cookies are not my. That certainly. Okay. Cookies are not my standard. My experience of an organization. So my experience of a certain conference organization is universally dismal. They have constantly spammed me and used LinkedIn connections to try and sell me things, and so there's always, you've got to establish your own thing. I am slightly notorious for not taking data ethics very seriously, because I think that's, again, there's a whole snake oil thing there. I think every person has to establish what they think their standards are, and my standards are not the same as yours. And the one thing I would never say is that my standards ought to be your standards. Yeah. My sole request is that people should accept that sometimes you're going to get the piss taken out of you. And sometimes people are going to say, well, I wouldn't do that. And it doesn't matter. No, there isn't a data protection god who we all accept. If they say something is bad, it's bad. I am the least person. Nobody goes to sleep at night thinking, what does Tim Turner think I did today? What does he think of me? Nobody gives a toss. Nobody takes me seriously.
Actually, Tim, I don't think you're right, actually. I think people do.
Yeah.
I think people do. And they do, but out of respect.
Yeah.
Now, Tim, I would say to people, do you know what? Some of the things you say, absolutely, I think, oh, Tim, you've stepped over the mark. But sometimes, I have said, I don't think there's anybody better to be doing a talk on Brexit or on whatever. Tim is the person to go to. I would recommend your courses without an extra breath. But sometimes you think, oh, but it's nobody's perfect. Nobody's absolutely right. What I say to people is, an organisation, if they're willing to listen and learn and change, I don't have a problem how bad they are, as long as they're willing to listen and change.
I'm very similar because I don't have a website, and part of the reason I don't have a website is actually vaguely related to you, because when I first went self-employed, it was when you were doing quite a bit around ripping people to shreds, and I was like, do you know what? I don't want a website that Tim Turner is going to rip to shreds. So I actually did care about what you thought at the time. And I decided not to have a website. And that's worked really well, because I now only work word of mouth. And because of that, I get to talk to the people who want to work with me first. And I actually say to them, I know you feel like you're trying to understand whether you want to take me on or not, but I'm doing the same thing. Because if it's not ethics, but if our culture doesn't match, if I don't feel that you're willing to do this, you're just doing a tick box exercise, I don't really want to do this work. For me, it matters too much that what I'm having to do 12, 14 hours a day has to be wanting to be done willingly. And so that's sort of my I don't look at their website. I don't care necessarily if they've got cookies or if they've got, a bad privacy notice. I just see that as a task that we're going to have to get over. But I do want to know that the leadership is there and they're doing this for the right reason. And I guess that's where I'm a bit different from others, I guess.
But this is the point. Everybody is looking in some way at one of you, or at me, or at somebody else, be it Rowena, be it Dave Wiley, be it Annie Chesterman, be it whoever, the purists. Everybody is looking at somebody and going, what would they think if I did this? How would that? And that's what frustrates me when it gets nitpicky on LinkedIn, because there are so many people. There are people in our Slack group that don't want to comment because they're like, oh, I don't know as much as you guys, or I don't feel comfortable. And people shouldn't end up feeling that. And there are people that I talk to that want to go self-employed that will not promote themselves on LinkedIn and saying you've got to write a blog. Put yourself out there, you'll get connections, you'll meet people, and that's it's a good way to find work without having a website. And they say, I don't want to. What if I get it wrong? What if I get savaged? So I've got no issue with people calling out shite. Like if somebody's cocking up and somebody's being a dick, 100%. But you don't have to, at least try and maybe talk to them first before you call it out. But it's when people are getting like and nitpicky, it puts people off the industry, and it puts people in the industry off trying to progress, because they do care what people think, and they are going to bed thinking, shit, I can't.
Don't you think though that I think we're in a very unique place with the work we do, simply because there's been some debate on, I put something on a few weeks ago on Slack, and it's been on again today, about data controller, data processor, joint controllers. And actually, there are 3 or 4 different people with all slightly different opinions. I don't have a problem with that. What it helps me to do is then refine what I think, or what I believe best practice is, so that I can then say, do you know what? I've listened to all the different arguments from good people who have a slightly different, including you, Tim, that you have an opinion, and I will take that on board and then say, do you know what? I think this is going to be the best practice. So long as I document what my reason and rationale, and for my best practice, she ain't gonna come and bash me over the head with a big baseball bat. Well, she ain't.
Well, not unless you're in America.
No, but you see what we're saying. Yeah, it is a case of we're in an industry where there are different opinions, and I don't mind that. But I think where there are people that are absolutely off their rocket, it looks as if they've been drinking all day and all night, because the statements they're making, then they need to be called out. Fruit juice, Tim.
Yeah, it's okay. The thing is, my ultimate opinion is you're right. The whole attraction of this area is that there are very few right answers, and that you can have a different approach and a different opinion to somebody else. You can either both be right, or you cannot possibly be wrong, because there's enough ambiguity in. I just think that you should the sector should accept that there are always going to be people like me. There are always going to be people who don't belong, who don't fit in. And I've never asked anybody to take me seriously, and I've never asked anyone to give a toss what I think. The only thing I've said is I'm still going to say it, and I don't care. And it's up to other people to decide what value they put in anybody's opinion. There are people I listen to and the people I don't listen to, but it's not about the survival of a commercial sector. It's about people being allowed to say what they think and being allowed to express themselves. And if I worked in libraries, which is where I started, I'd probably be that opinionated libraries guy.
No, because you're not allowed to talk in a library, so you would not.
That's why you got sacked.
That's why you got out.
No,
Yeah.
the one thing that annoys loads of people. I've never been sacked from any job ever, because ultimately people love me.
They walk before you get sacked.
No,
Resigning.
what can I tell you? Spotless disciplinary record.
So-
I'm basically a
It's
saint.
really interesting that every time we talk about this,
I haven't.
people who are talking people down, who are undermining their professional capability, you think we're talking about you. And I have never seen that. To me, there is this middle ground. Then there are the people that are just fucking annoying, who seem to spend their life just undermining other people. And then there's you on the completely other side, where you know what you're talking about, you have your own opinions. Sometimes you're a dick, sometimes you're not, but you're a genuinely nice person, so it's fine. So, well, don't take that to heart, because
I would just like to confirm that I'm not a genuinely nice person.
No, Tim, I think one thing you said a few weeks or a few months ago was that when you're doing your training, you're a nice bloke, you don't swear, you act professionally. And if I was to recommend somebody to go on a training course, I would want the person to be professional.
Mm.
And I've never been on any of your training things, but as far as I know, people who have absolutely love your training and you're professional. That is the important thing.
But let's
no, sorry, I'm bored of the Tim Turner fan appreciation.
Yeah.
No.
No, but the thing is,
off,
what we should say is,
Yeah.
it's not about me, it's not about my approach. What the sector needs is diversity. It needs different people, it needs different opinions. I mean, let's face it, it needs less people that look like me and Barry.
Ah.
Hey,
that's old people.
We've had our time, Barry.
Hey, just
we are
'cause we
moving
come from
into
Stoke.
obsolescence.
Because I come from Stoke, don't call me a northerner.
All
You
right.
know what I mean?
Well, no, everything south of Stoke is normal. But I think the maybe I'm a bad example, but what the sector needs is different people. It needs different opinions, and it does need people who don't look like middle-aged white straight people like me. And so, although I might be doing it imperfectly, what we all need to do is encourage difference, not encourage shite, because shite makes money, but diversity of opinion, diversity of appearance, diversity of background, and anything you can do to say it doesn't matter if you don't fit in. It doesn't matter if you don't feel like you belong. Just get in there and do it, and don't give a toss about what anybody else thinks. And if we encourage that, then whether I'm part of this community or not, that's a good thing.
Now,
But
that's
the whole not
interesting.
caring what people think is a diversity thing in itself, because a lot of people are not as thick-skinned as you, and that is just a way of being. And so people like you do need to take into account that people won't always take on what you say receptively. So that's about,
It's a good thing.
it works both ways.
Anyway, let's get off the kissing Tim thing,
I
Yeah,
can assure you
done
that's
that.
not going to happen.
because it takes me very nicely onto the next little thing that I had written down.
Oh God.
So when I started this job, everyone was in brown suits, brown trousers. They were all in their 70s. They'd all been working since the 82 Act. It was horrendous. Now we have like a bit of diversity. We've got a bit going on. I saw something the other day selling a Grant Cardone sort of 10x sort of course thing that the privacy sector is going to be worth 27 or 2.7 billion pounds or 27 billion pounds, whatever it was, in the next 10 years, selling courses to get people into six-figure jobs working in data protection. So how do we get people into this industry, and why are we not signed up to some kind of course where we pay to end up in a six-figure salaried job?
Oh, I saw this. I was actually talking about this on.
I've
So
seen that.
what I did just before this was a diversity one, and the person who is doing that who was offering to get a number of people on to get a 6-figure sum and everything else, was on my diversity channel, was on my diversity talk. So it's all about getting people in with diverse backgrounds to get them a 21-day course to have them earning. Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
I'm not in on this. So what's give me a bit more, Richard. I don't know.
It's literally, so like I think you're paying like a subscription of some kind. Like it's like a program, like I don't know, like a Weight Watchers sort of program, and they give you the skills that you need to land a 6-figure salary role.
It's free.
Is it like joining?
It's free. Don't even have to pay for it.
Yeah, it's for people trying to get into the privacy sector. It's something that one of the consultants is doing to try and bring people in from diverse background, youngsters, to try and bring them into the privacy, give them enough knowledge and enough direction that eventually they will be on a 6-figure sum.
The apprenticeship. The apprenticeship.
But no, it's not an apprenticeship. It's
no. But what I'm saying is, what we're looking at is starting people off, bringing them in. Because one of the things I've been champion for a year or so is we want people to come in this industry and we want them to stay. We don't want them to see this as a career, and it's a good career, and we want them to come in. So if we start off at the early stages and say, look, as an apprenticeship, this is where you learn the foundations, the background, and then from there you can go and do your CIPP or whatever you want to go and do. But it brings people into the industry, and hopefully they'll keep them, because what happens at the moment is they come in and they have to go and do business admin, and then a job comes up in HR or in estates and they go. But if we can give them that apprenticeship in data protection, information governance, we might be able to keep them. So what is the career? There's, apart from one or two maybe American things, there's not much in this country as a profession.
I think to Richard's point, though, is along the lines of why isn't everyone earning this 6-figure sum? If the industry is going to be worth this much, what are we all doing wrong? And I think I've lost my voice now. I've been on WebEx on thingy too long today. I think part of the problem, Richard, is that you look at all the jobs in house, and those 6-figure sums are at the moment only going for lawyers. And I think that needs to change.
Well, it's been on tonight. Just before I came onto this, there was somebody who was saying that to be a DPO, you've got to be a lawyer. And I'm saying, well, no, you haven't. Yeah. But there are people who say that. But then there was the conversation on Slack yesterday or the day before about a day rate. If our day rate is very poor, then that's what we'll get, and that's what they expect people to be paid. But when I said, it should be £60 an hour, minimum £400 a day, then, but we have to make it a profession ourselves.
And at the moment, the day rates do vary so considerably. I was talking to a DPO consultancy the other day who actually said to me, unless your day rate is £1,500 a day, you're not going to be taken seriously. And I was like, whoa, I'm doing this so wrong. And they were like, well, that's what we charge. I was like, oh my God, I am getting this so wrong.
Do they charge it, or does their organisation charge it? If it's PricewaterhouseCoopers, something like that.
Exactly. Deloitte are going to charge it. KPMG are going to charge it. That's not real world consultancy. So how do we
two people
future-proof this industry? How do we get like this diversity in? How do we get the kind of minds in that that Tim's talking about? Like, how do we invigorate people to come and do?
Sorry, we're in a pub. Are you going to share whatever you're eating?
Yeah, do you want some?
What is it?
Like a little carrot Christmas cake.
Oh my God!
Oh, why?
Hold on. I'm getting it. Thank you.
I'm going to say, if we're talking about food, I'm not going to last very much longer because my dinner's in the oven. So, I might have to bail at some point. I
banked this for an hour and a half. You've got about 18 minutes.
Oh, I'm not sure the lady of the house will wait that long. She's literally, I can see her over there.
Hey, so you do listen to people, Tim?
Oh. Just not any of you. Give me...
So okay. So get back to how do we make this more of a profession?
I think we're future-proofing the industry better because of the new apprenticeships that are coming in. I think the day rates are leveling out because I think a lot of the snake oil people have gone back to their day job in marketing. I think they were. I think.
Or IT security.
we are left with a pretty good community. I mean, it's very rare that you get a Kevin Gate now, isn't it? Whereas if I think back 2 years ago, it was all the time. You know, anything anyone said, they were jumped on for, you don't know what you're talking about. And you don't get that anymore. So I think the industry is naturally future-proofing itself. And I think the work that you guys are doing to bring on the apprenticeships is going to be a massive, massive help.
I think what you've got to consider is that there is an enormous amount of nonsense talked by some people who, you know, that thing about no one's going to take you seriously unless you're charging 1,500 quid a day or whatever. I'm sure that's hype, but the world is going to correct a lot of this. You've got no deal Brexit, quite likely. You've got the effects of the coronavirus. You know, you've got all sorts of things. So I think we're all going to have a dose of realism fairly soon. And what we should do is just, you know, this is, I mean, I am the wrong person to talk about this because I'm not very corporate. I've never worked for a big private sector organization. I've only ever worked for big public sector. I think it's just let things happen. Organizations will need what they need. The apprenticeship scheme is a specific thing with a specific goal, and so, you know, no one could have a problem with it. But does it really matter if there is no presiding genius over the industry and we all just get on with it? Apart from the apprentice thing's different, but beyond that, it doesn't have to be a professionalized sector. It could just be a bunch of people doing a job.
Yeah, but I think the thing I'm thinking about, though, Tim, is how do we get people to come in? Because you know, you've been in it a long time and I've been in it a long time. How do we get people to stay in? Because it isn't having a law degree. It's in many instances, it's the experience that you've got so that you can apply it in your specific sector. You know, you can have all the knowledge you like, but if you can't apply it, it doesn't make any difference. So it's just, how do we get people to stay in the sector?
I almost disagree, Barry, and this is a topic I don't talk about very often, but I have not been in the industry very long, and I think you probably know that I have not been in it at all. I'm a newbie, completely a newbie. But if you can learn what you need to learn and get it right, you can survive.
But Tash, have we had emails? Have we had conversations on Slack? Have we had phone calls that if you don't know, you know who you can call, and you've been willing to learn? And I think that is the difference, you know, and I'm not just making excuses saying, OK, you haven't been in long, but you are, I think you're different than lots of other people. There are some people who've not been in the industry long and seem to think themselves they're great speakers at these organisations that can't be mentioned. I'm joking, actually.
Trouble again, aren't you?
Yeah, I think I'll have another drink.
Oh, yeah, please do. Yeah, no, when you were saying about wouldn't it be if we were just doing our job, we have quite a few conversations on the various DPO Slack groups about business plans and this sort of thing. And I just think, oh my God, I'm just winging it. Day to day, all I'm doing is just sitting down every day and doing my to-do list. You know, I have no sales strategy, nothing. I'm just like, I just do my job. And
I'm the same.
But that's the life of a consultant. Like an independent consultant doesn't have a sales strategy. Like we run a business. We have a sales strategy, we have marketing strategy, we have pen testers, we have sales apprentices, but it's a business. If my bit, the bit that I do is fucking winging a prayer. It's like, I know that I've got a number of DPO service clients that I have to look after, and I know I've got projects coming in, and it's just
yeah,
but isn't it good that we all have different things? Because I tell you what, I wish I could do and have the confidence to do is what Tim does. Those sort of 1 hour come onto my 1 hour webinar, you know, 80 quid, blah, blah, blah. And he gets 50 people on. He probably earns more with those 50 people for an hour than I earn in a whole day.
But he just talks shit for an hour, doesn't he? That's all he does. No, he's not working.
No, but he's using his knowledge and experience. He don't get involved in another conversation because his dinner's burning.
No, the thing is that I'm going to do the play the card that everybody hates me playing. This has been around. The first Data Protection Act was 1984. None of this is new. People come in, people do their stuff. Some people cared. No, but there's an argument that nobody cares now. The point is that the industry is what it is. It's the people who work in it. And I fell in, there's always been waves. the wave that some people were brought in was the GDPR wave. But before that, there was the PECA wave, which was smaller. There was the FOI wave, which was quite big. There was the DPA 98 wave. So the industry has always been people coming in, some lasting ages, some bobbing in and bobbing out. And so I don't think it needs to be managed. Specific initiatives to try and encourage younger people or people from more diverse backgrounds. And what I mean is, people who don't look like me. That is an obvious benefit to everybody because the whole thing is built by different opinions. But in the end, it doesn't need to be strategized. It's just this is a very weird sector, and a very strange range of people end up in it, or sometimes consciously choose to be in it, and it doesn't need to be managed. It
doesn't need to be managed. But I wonder whether what we're looking at is how can we get people to see this as a career, not people coming in and winging it, not knowing anything, and then actually making things worse, so that then people have to go back and make it right.
I think that happens in every sector.
Get people like Tash that give a shit, gonna fix cookies, they're gonna stick at it.
Cookies.
Rather than I spoke to a guy when the GDPR came out. And he's like, oh yeah, I was talking to my Olympic weightlifting trainer. I was like, I'm sorry. He's like, oh yeah, he teaches me to do Olympic weightlifting, and he's a GDPR consultant. And I said to him, why do you do that? He said, oh, everybody was talking about it while I was training him. And I thought, fuck it, I'll do an online course.
And he did.
And sold himself out as a consultant for 6 months. Made an absolute fortune.
How many people do you know now who have turned into life coaches?
Yeah.
Yes.
Will you all just bog off and stop coaching me? Oh, but I've got a qualification. I'm saying, no, leave me alone.
I know my life's a mess. I don't need you telling me it's a mess. Leave me alone.
Tim, is that what you're going to do next? Are you going to become a life coach?
Can you imagine Tim as a life coach?
I'm asking the question. You never know.
I don't think someone contacting me and saying I don't care is a life coach. I think the guy who went from something else to GDPR to worktops, he's still my favourite.
Yes.
That isn't a journey. That is a pinball.
Found his life in courts, and fair dues to him. I'm proud of him.
No, but like I say, I think there's absolutely a place for initiatives to do something positive, and the apprentice thing is a very good example of that. But it's always been a place that people have ended up, and it doesn't need to be anything else. There are always going to be a wide range of different people, and let's just let people drift in. I'm only here because I wanted a permanent job. If Stockport Council had offered me a permanent job 2 months earlier, I'd be somewhere else. I'd be running the Heaton's Library in Stockport by now. Because I literally didn't say one day, I want to work on FOI and data protection. I was on a temporary contract cataloguing books in Stockport. That's literally the only reason I'm here. The ICO was offering permanent jobs. So, and the idea that there's something wrong with that, fine, let it be a place weirdos end up.
I got a temporary job at Dun & Bradstreet doing data stuff, and I actually didn't apply for it because at £5 an hour I thought it was a sex line. So I only applied for it when I got really desperate and needed to pay the rent. So that's how I ended up in data.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Do you know how I ended up? I worked for a council, and 1998 the Data Protection Act came in, and they said they wanted somebody to talk to a department only for about 10 minutes, quarter of an hour on the Data Protection Act. And there's 5 of us. We all looked at each other and thought, not me. I know nothing about that. And eventually all eyes came on me. So I went away, read about it, did about 10, 15 minutes. I had 5 points. I can't remember what they were. After that, they said that was brilliant. And then I went to housing, then I went to highways, then I went to, and that was my journey. And and then eventually a job came up, because you probably don't know, Tim. I trained as a nurse. I was a nurse for 40 odd years. And then our job came up at the hospital where I was working part-time, doing data protection. And I went and I got the job. So I was doing data protection in the morning, nursing in the afternoon. And that's how I started.
So what's wrong with that, Barry? Why?
There's nothing. What
Why
I'm saying is
this
just going about it's how people get into it and people find their way of getting into it. You're absolutely right, Tim. It doesn't matter. But what I think matters is what some of the stories people tell or some of the interpretation they tell that is absolutely wrong.
I was cold calling gas and electric. 100 calls odd a day. No reference to any TPS register. Didn't give a shit about that. We were selling gas to people that didn't have mainline gas. Like, I think we were the reason that the ICO took such an interest. But yeah, I've got no issue with people coming in from anywhere. My point is, like, we've come this far in 10 years. Like, from when I started my career, the world is massively different. You know, nearly knocking on 12 years ago now. Like, the diversity is massive.
12 years ago. How old are you?
I mean, 38.
You youngster. Oh my God.
It's because I'm grey, but I'm actually on the inside. I'm
38.
young and fresh.
38. Jeez.
Dear me.
But it's
They were the days.
now to like.
My son is older. My son is older than you.
My daughter's nearly as old.
You're older than me.
My son is older than you. My daughter's older than you.
I thought Tash was my age.
No, I'm way, way older than you. Trust me.
I thought Tim. How old's Tim then?
Did I?
25.
I thought Tim was like.
It's and just all I can say is, kids, don't do drugs. I'm actually not do them. Just do them. Who cares? It'll be all right.
Goodness.
You don't need hair or teeth.
I've not got the hair, but I've got the teeth. Thank you.
I thought you two were my age.
Mind blown.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think one of the things is that it has always been a place that people have ended up. I ended up here. Totally accidentally. Loads of us have ended up, even some of the venerated figures of data protection actually started somewhere else. And I mean, Barry's a very good example. And there are people who you'd think were born into data protection, but they didn't. They did something else first. So I think it doesn't need to be managed. It doesn't need to be structured. We just need to accept that it's the whole point of data protection is it's a legal subject, so it's going to have an element of adversarial, argument and all that kind of stuff. That's part of what the legal system is, so that's part of what data protection is. And I know some of you have said that people like me, people listen to us and take us too seriously. Why take me seriously? I'm just a person with opinions. Maybe those opinions are strong. Maybe those opinions are loud. But, the ICO doesn't give a shit what I think.
It's because people listen to you, and that shapes their reaction to us then, not you. So that's why. And if you don't realise the value or the impact that your opinion can have, that can either be used for good or for damage, but you need to realise the impact that it has.
Stop being an arsehole, Tim.
Yeah,
making us all sad.
Yeah, Tim.
How about no?
It's on Tim Day.
Go and have your dinner, Tim.
Yeah. So we can talk about you while you're not here.
No, but I think the problem is, what you've also got to remember is there is when you talk about diversity, sometimes I don't count. I'm not autistic. I'm not. I don't have difficulty expressing myself. I'm just a dick. But there are people who are. There are people who are neurodiverse, who have a different, unusual way of expressing themselves. And there's people I know very well who find it difficult to express themselves. I think you've just got to accept we're not all machines. This isn't marketing. And even marketing has its rogues and its weirdos. People just have to say, I know what I'm doing, and I don't give a toss what anyone else thinks. And that is a more important skill for data protection and for life than anything else. And people who don't give a toss what I think, I've got huge respect for. People who think for themselves and who justify what they do, they will always have a place in data protection. They'll always have a job in data protection. And so everyone just needs to find their own place and make their own way in this. And they'll be fine.
But accept that some people need help to get there.
and it's not everyone's job to help them.
No, I
I agree.
There are people who I help, and there are people who I don't. There are people who ask me for help and I help them, and there are people who I say, I've got a limited amount of years on this world, and you're not worth helping because you're rubbish. So, that's and there will always be somebody nice who will come along and look after them. But I think it is just, if you know what you're doing, there'll always be a place for you, and there'll always be people who will back you up. Just keep your head exactly where it is, Barry, because it's almost perfect.
That's what I do. Just slightly, just like that.
That's it. That's
good. Got it.
All right. So before
On that note, can we go and have dinner now, please?
I was going to say, before Tim's wife comes and puts his dinner through his camera.
She's got far more sense than to marry me.
He's going to wear it.
Have we got any final thoughts? Like, well, how do we close off 2020?
Have a good Christmas, guys.
Like Jerry Springer.
Just chuffing close it. It's been shite. Let's hope the next one isn't as shite.
What, the year or this podcast?
The year. Oh no, come on.
This is the worst one we've done.
Not that bad. This is Richard. This is not the worst one. We all know which the worst one was. This is not the worst one.
And you can be worried now. You can be worried now.
And it wasn't the one with Barry or Come on.
I'd just come out of hospital actually when we did the first one.
Oh no. We all watched it and it was all like I
do too much. Anyway, I'm going to go and get my dinner, guys, even if you're not. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. When is this going out?
I don't bloody know. Tash, I don't know. Did you not listen to what I said? Once a week. Do you know, I might put it out on a Sunday evening because it's quite long.
They say the best time to put it out is 9:30 on a Sunday morning, apparently. I don't know why.
It should be a bootleg. It should be nobody ever gets to see it. It's just a bootleg and it gets passed around
I'll run it through tonight. I'll probably just lob it up on YouTube like tomorrow morning. Okay. And then we can just share it as and when we like. You have to not share my post on LinkedIn. You have to make your own post. And then it works better. Yeah.
Just for my kids' point of view, just remember that I haven't swore once this evening, just in case my kids listen to it.
I think I have, and my daughter would be really proud.
Yeah.
I haven't got kids, so I don't give a shit. Fuck them.
Thanks, Dave.
Not your kids, obviously.
If you did, Tim, they'd go back and say, I don't want Tim.
Well, we don't have to...
I'm really going. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thanks, guys. See you soon.